How's it going everyone, Rosalind here. So Persona 3 Reload's episode Aigis is out, and the sponsor of today's video, Sega and Atlas, huge thanks to them by the way for sponsoring the video, asked if I'd be interested in making a video about it for you guys in my usual style. I of course said yes, and in keeping in line with my usual style, I have some Persona builds for you to help with your progression through episode Aigis. So let's get into it. For these builds, we are actually going to be making use of the newly added feature in episode Aigis that lets you gain access to the compendium on a save file from the main game. If you're unaware, when you choose to start a new game for episode Aigis, you'll be asked to choose one of your save files from the main Persona 3 Reload game. And this can be any file, it doesn't actually need to be a clear file. Then once you are in game and have gained access to the Velvet Room, you essentially have access to two different compendiums, the episode Aigis one and the one you chose at the beginning. There are a couple of things to note though about this feature. First, the cost of pulling a persona out of your main game's compendium is significantly increased. And second, you are unable to do this if you choose to play on the Heartless difficulty, Heartless being episode Aigis' equivalent to Merciless. So what we are going to be doing here is making these persona on a main game save file with the intention of saving them to the compendium in order to be withdrawn in episode Aigis. However, there are a few guidelines I want to follow. I want these persona to be usable early on in episode Aigis. Essentially, they are meant to give you a nice early boost. At the same time, I don't want them to be overpowered as that would trivialize your playthrough. And since they are meant to be used early on, the cost to withdraw them should be kept to a reasonable level. What this means is that you won't be seeing skills such as Spellmaster, Firm Stance, the Dying tier spells, etc. on any of these persona. So if you're wondering why X ability isn't used, or why a different tier of an ability isn't used, it's because of one or more of the previously stated guidelines. Anyways, enough rambling, let's check out the builds. For the first build, I'm going to be resurrecting the 5-element Fortuna build I showcased for the main game, except that now we can make it 6-element, remove its weakness, and give it better sustain than Spirit Drain and Drainability. If you haven't seen my video covering the 5-element Fortuna build, I encourage you to go watch it. I'll leave it linked in the video description below, but the main differences now is that we will be dropping Spirit Drain and Drainability in order to pick up Life Aid and Null Elec, and then we will be getting the last element through skill cards. I used an Aigis skill card myself since I didn't actually have one for Aha, but you can keep the cost down even more if you use Aha instead. As for Life Aid, it is a fantastic skill if you've never used it, restoring 8% HP and SP after battle. And then of course the Null Elec removes the weakness that Fortuna has to Elec. Now this Fortuna build is meant to be the first of the 3 persona that we are making that you will withdraw from the compendium. For me, it cost just under 26,000 yen to withdraw, and by prioritizing money cards from shuffle time, which you should always be doing anyways, I was able to get the 26k necessary before the first mini-boss. The second build, and subsequently the build that is intended to be withdrawn second, is a Matador set up to be an entrance buffer. This build does admittedly kind of violate one of the guidelines, as we are using the AoE auto-buffing spells here, but they surprisingly don't add much cost and are largely a quality of life thing, so I decided to use them anyways. The build though is a pretty standard entrance buffer. Invigorate 1, 2, and 3 provide 15 SP at the beginning of every combat encounter, and when combined with Life Aid on another persona, effectively makes it so that you will never run out of SP on your main character. Auto Mataru, Maraku, and Masuku put up their respective buffs at the beginning of combat, and finally Null Fire removes Matador's weakness to fire just in case. The last slot is a free slot for whatever you want. I put another null here, but like I said, it's a free slot, so put whatever you want there. I chose not to use Auto Rebellion since we won't have access to any skills that make good use of it early on, but feel free to include it in this slot if you want to. As for the reason why I chose Matador as the entrance buffer in the first place, well, mainly it came down to his agility stat. Among the early accessible persona, Matador has the highest agility, and you ideally want your entrance buffer to be fast so that you can go first in battle, so he fit the role best. For me, this Matador cost just over 33,000 yen to withdraw, and I was able to do that shortly after beating the first mini-boss. The third and final persona is Queen Maeve. This is another persona I did a video on for the base game, and just like with Fortuna, we are going to be making a few improvements in order to prepare her for episode Aigis. The two main changes will be dropping Invigorate 2 and multi-target boost from my original build in favor of Life Aid and Null Wind. I talked about Life Aid already with Fortuna, and Null Wind will remove Queen Maeve's weakness to wind. Now you may be wondering why I'm using two different 6-element persona, and the main reason is SP efficiency. In episode Aigis, it is actually much easier to restore SP as you can simply exit to the dorm and then return to fully heal, but that does reset your Arcana burst, so being SP efficient still has its advantages. Anyways, Queen Maeve is positioned to be the third persona to withdraw after Fortuna and Matador. For me, she cost just over 38,000 yen to withdraw, and I was able to do this as soon as I got access to the shop at the end of the first area. So now that we've seen the builds, let's jump over to the main game and take a look at how to actually make them. Alright, so starting off with the Fortuna, we're going to need a Rakshasa, we're going to need a Thunderbird, this needs to be level 41, this is where we're getting Null Elec. We need a Tom Lin, we need an Orpheus, we need Ose. Ose does need to be level 45. This is where we get Life Aid. Legion, Pixie, Omoikane, Lilum. And that's it. So for step 1, we're going to fuse the Rakshasa with the Thunderbird to make a Queen Maeve. And we are going to be passing down the Null Elec here. The rest of this doesn't matter, just do whatever you want. Okay, once you've done that, we are going to fuse the Queen Maeve, the Tom Lin, in order to make a Silky. Again, we are passing down the Null Elec. Alright, once we've done that, we are going to fuse the Orpheus and the Ose together to make a slime. This is where we'll be grabbing the Life Aid. Rest doesn't matter. Alright, once we've done that, we are going to fuse the slime and the Legion together to make another Orpheus. And again here, we're going to be passing down the Life Aid. Alright, once that's done, we're going to fuse the Orpheus and the Pixie to make Angel. And of course, once again, passing down the Life Aid. Alright, and then we need to fuse the Omoikane and the Lilum to make a unicorn. Then here we want to pass down Aigis and Zio. Alright. Once we've done that, we are ready to jump over to the special fusions in order to fuse our Fortuna. And here we are. So we're going to be passing down Aigis, Zio, Koha, Null Elec, and Life Aid. Alright, and at this point we are ready to use a skill card to get the last skill, the Aha. In my case it'll be Aigis, so let's go ahead and do that. So just come over to your skill cards, go find Aha, Aigis. Again, I'm using Aigis because I don't have an Aha. Aha will save you more money when you transfer this over to episode Aigis. But we replace the Patcher with that, and that is the completed Fortuna ready to be saved to the compendium. Alright, next up for the Matador, we're going to need to start off with a Skathok. The Skathok does need to be level 81 to learn the requisite skills we're going to be passing down from her. That will be Invigorate 3, Automataru, and Automasuku. I'll leave a pinned comment with how to get Auto Moraku into this build. We'll be using a skill card for it here, but if say you don't have a skill card for that and you have one for one of the other autos, like I said, I'll leave a pinned comment that shows how to get that into this build. But for the build video for now, we're going to be passing down Invigorate 3, Mataru, and Masuku from the Skathok, so she needs to be 81. Naga, ideally you want Naga to be level 22 if you don't have a Invigorate skill card or you're not getting it from somewhere else. You need Valkyrie, Angel, Shikioji. Shikioji does need to be level 51 in order to learn Nullfire. Orpheus, Apsaras, and that is what we need. So for step 1, we're going to be fusing the Skathok and the Naga in order to make a Siegfried. And here, I'm going to be passing down Invigorate 1 because I need to grab it from here. And then we would also be passing down the Auto Mataru and Auto Masuku. The rest from this one does not matter. Okay, and then we want to fuse this Siegfried with a Valkyrie to make a Jikokuten. Again, passing down the Invigorate 1, Auto Mataru, and Auto Masuku. If you wanted to get Auto Rebellion in here as well, this is where you would get it from. Alright, and then we want to fuse this Jikokuten with an Angel to make a Neko Shogun. And once again, passing down the Invigorate 1, Auto Mataru, and Auto Masuku. And again, if you wanted Auto Rebellion as well, continue passing that down too. Alright, once we have done that, we are going to have to pull out another Skathok. So I'm going to go grab her real quick. Alright, and then we're going to fuse this Skathok with Shikioji to make a Loki. And here we're going to be passing down the Nullfire. The rest does not matter. Alright, and once we have done that, we are going to be fusing the Loki with Orpheus to make a Legion. And of course, be passing down Nullfire. Alright, and then we're going to fuse the Legion with the Apsaras to make a Jack-o'-lantern. And once again, passing down Nullfire. Alright, and then we're going to fuse the Neko Shogun with the Jack-o'-lantern to make our Matador. And here, passing down Nullfire, Invigorate 1 in my case, Auto Mataru, and Auto Masuku. Alright, and now we're ready to finish off the build with some skill cards. Alright, so we'll do Invigorate 2. Unfortunately with this one we do have to use quite a few skill cards just because we can only pass down 4 abilities at once and we want so many different ones. Like I said, I'll show how to get Auto Moraku in the pinned comment. You want to get it into the build, that way you can pass that down as well, and you can just choose which ones of all the skills to pass down based on what skill cards you have. And that would basically be the build there. The last slot, which is the dodge pierce in this case, that would be for whatever you want. In my case, based on just what I have, I ended up throwing on a null light for the build I ended up bringing into episode Aigis, but that, like I said, it's a free skill. If you had wanted to instead have this be auto rebellion, you could have gotten that from Siegfried very easily. But yeah, that's the build. Alright, and finally we have the fusion for Queen Maeve. Now we are going to have to use skill cards for this because we can only pass down 4 skills. I'll be using the skill cards for Magaru and Maeha. If you happen to not have those skill cards, I will leave in the pinned comment how you can work those skills into the fusion process. But for now, we're going to need a High Pixie, Mithras, a level 45 Ose for Life Aid, a level 61 Mada for Null Wind, Inugami, Takeminakata, Angel, and Power. Once you have that, we can start with step 1, which is to fuse the High Pixie and the Mithras together to make a Legion. Then pass down Mabufu, Makoha, and the rest do not matter. Alright, then we're going to take this Legion and we are going to go ahead and fuse it with Power to make a Queen Maeve. This is not the final Queen Maeve. Passing down Mabufu and Makoha. Alright, and then we're going to fuse that Queen Maeve with a Ose in order to make a Dominion. And here we're going to be passing down Mabufu, Makoha, and Life Aid. Alright, and now we're going to fuse Mada with Inugami in order to make an Orthrus. Here we're going to be passing down the Null Wind. Alright, and then we're going to fuse the Orthrus with a Takeminakata to make an Inugami. And we're going to be passing down the Null Wind. Alright, and then we're going to fuse Angel and Inugami in order to make a Unicorn. And of course, passing down Null Wind. Alright, and then finally, we're going to fuse Dominion and Unicorn to make our Queen Maeve. Passing down Mabufu, Makoha, Null Wind, and Life Aid. Alright, and now this Queen Maeve is ready for skill cards. Alright, so find our Magaru. And finally, Maeha. Alright, and that is the completed build ready to be saved to the compendium to be used in episode Aigis. And that'll do it for this video covering 3 Persona that you can use to help you through the early parts of episode Aigis. All 3 Persona can easily be obtained within the very first area so long as you are prioritizing taking money cards from shuffle time. And they will easily carry you through to the mid-game levels where you can then start to withdraw some of your more powerful Persona from your main game save file. If you would like to see some builds specifically for Heartless difficulty that don't utilize your main save file, then let me know in the comments below. And of course, if you liked this video, please be sure to leave a like and consider subscribing to the channel if you haven't already. Also, if you have any questions about Persona 3 Reload, episode Aigis, or any other game that I cover, feel free to hit me up over on Twitch at twitch.tv/RoslinGaming or on my Discord server, both of which you can find linked in the video description below. Until next time, take care.